I've really looked forward to this time here, and thank you so much for the welcome. Just to make you feel more comfortable, I've got a timer here, but just so you know, I don't ever look at it. I do feel welcome, and probably the most warm welcome I got was from Emily, who gave me a Valentine's card. And Emma, what did I say? The reason I say Emily is because next month I have my first great-grandchild, and her name is going to be Emily. So I got that on my mind. But Emma, in her card, put Psalm 34:19. The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all. And doesn't get any better than that. And so we'll see how all this is going to work here. I really appreciate the welcome that I've gotten so far and look forward to getting to know all of you. California Dreaming, why did I pick that? Well, most of you never even heard that song. That was Mamas and the Papas back in the 60s, and most of you weren't even born then. But that was the name of a sermon that I preached the first Sunday that we moved to California from Boston. And we were brought in to lead what was called back then the Ventura region. And it was also known as God's country. And it was. And I found out it was because after we were there for a while, guess where we went? South Central LA. 3 years in South Central LA. And I really, at that time, really appreciated the Ventura sector that we had left. But we had been in Boston for 25 years. And coming to California, it was interestingly, in graduate school, I spent the summer in San Diego, and that was back in 1963. And one place I swore I would never, ever live was LA. And so where did God put us? In LA. But you know what? It was great because we left 25 inches of snow in Boston when we moved here. And so it was not a hard move for us to make. And we loved our years here. And so really the question is, what am I doing here? What is this 85-year-old guy doing with the idea of being here for 3 months? I understand there's an underground movement here that might be longer than that, but the idea is 3 months. And you say, what can an 85-year-old guy do? Well, some of you know the old Bible story of Caleb. How old was Caleb? 85 years old. And they were dividing up the promised land then. And Caleb said, you know what? I want the toughest area of all. I want the mountain region where all the giants live, where Goliath and all the others were. That's what I want. So don't count out 85-year-olds. My main strength, I think, and I hope you see it in the time here, is I'm a dreamer. I love to dream. I've always been a dreamer. And I think one of my gifts is getting other people to dream. And that's my goal in my 12 weeks here, or however long, is I want to get you to dreaming. I want to help you have God-sized dreams. So can that happen in 12 weeks? God can do it. I guarantee you God can do it. A little bit about me. That's my claim to fame. Gloria is the most spiritual, most wonderful person that I've ever known in my life. We had 56 years together. I lost her 7.5 years ago to cancer, and I can't wait to be with her again. It was certainly the best time in our life, in my life, spending time with her. We were both born in Texas. You can tell from my accent that I haven't lost. I met Gloria at that time, Abilene Christian College. Now it's Abilene Christian University. And we left there. I graduated from there, and we went to the University of Texas. I got my doctorate in physics and took my first job, my only career job in Boston, where I worked at a research center there for 15 years. After 15 years, I got a challenge from a little church in Lexington to give up my career in physics and go in the ministry. And that's one of the toughest decisions that Gloria and I ever made. We struggled with that one for 3 months. We prayed about it. We got a lot of advice, and we finally decided to do it. I went in and told the research center that I was leaving after 15 years, and my response that I got from a lot of people, you've gone from physics to metaphysics. But that's right, it's still physics. It's God's physics. And but that led to basically over 40 years in the ministry. And Gloria and I have been able to, through God's strength, to help ministries all over the world, primarily in the Middle East. We've helped the churches in Cairo, Amman, Beirut, Dubai, and also in South Africa. One of the most fun times we had was starting the church in Johannesburg. And interesting enough, I just talked to Doug Lightning yesterday, who was he and his wife were evangelists in that planting. And I'll probably in the next 12 weeks talk more about that planting because it was a miracle event. But anyway, Doug is dying of cancer, and he probably has about a week or two left. And talked to him yesterday on the phone. His faith is tremendously strong. The bottom line thing he said there is, I can't wait to see my daughter that he lost and Gloria. And Doug is a great man. Pray for him, but mainly be thankful for him because God used him in that great planting there. So after 22 years in L.A., then we moved to Phoenix. Spent 8 years in Phoenix. And after losing Gloria, an interesting thing happens when you lose your mate. Your daughters become your mother. And they sort of give you direction for your life. So Steve and Carrie, of course, were in the ministry in Phoenix, and they moved to Antelope Valley 3 years ago. And so after they moved, I got a it could have been a conference call from all three of my girls, basically said, Dad, we've made a decision. I said, yeah? What? They said, you're going to live close to one of the three of us. It doesn't matter which one, take your pick. So we moved to Antelope Valley and have been there for 2 years. This is my family. This is actually an 8-year-old picture, so it's changed obviously a bit since then. My 3 daughters, My oldest is Stacy, and then Christy and Carrie back there. 9 grandkids. Our 3 daughters, our first 6 grandkids were girls. Finally had 2 grandsons, and then they adopted Nyla. And so very proud of them. All of our 3 girls, married disciples. They have great marriages, have great grandkids, and that's my oldest granddaughter, Kiara. She was born in Italy, in Milan, because Stacy and Andy were leading the church in Milan. And so she was born there, but then later on they spent 3 years in India, in Delhi, and she was born again in India. So, and she's the one who's about to have my first great-grandchild. So obviously she's great. And then the next oldest granddaughter is Kaylee, who's also married now, but she was a missionary in China for 2 years. And that was definitely an adventure in China. And I probably at some point in time will mention some more about that. But anyway, moving along, talking about dreaming. Probably the one verse that all of us would think about is this one at the beginning of the church, when Peter quotes Joel, and he says, "In the last days, God will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Your old men will dream dreams." In other words, the beginning of the church started off talking about dreams. God is a dreamer, and we'll talk a little bit more about that one. But God wants us to dream. God gives us dreams. He starts off at the beginning of the church and said the beginning of the church is about dreams. And, you know, there's something about dreams that just inspires people. And all of us know this quote. This is not original to John F. Kennedy, but he made it famous, this quote. He said, "You see things and say, why? I dream things that never were and say, why not?" I think that's the attitude that we need to have as disciples, is why not? Why can't these things happen, that especially if God wants them to happen? A verse that I like a lot along these lines is 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 16 and 18. Paul says, "Therefore we don't lose heart, though outwardly we're wasting away, yet inwardly we're being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." What's Paul saying? Paul says, you know what? We need to focus on things we can't see. In other words, we need to be dreaming dreams. We need to have visions about what can be, things that are not in existence right now, in our life or in the world or in the church. Another verse along these lines that I like is Ephesians chapter 1. Paul again says, "I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened, in order that you may know the hope which he has called you, the riches of his glory and glorious inheritance in his holy people, and his incomparably great power for those who believe." 3 things there: hope, the inheritance that we have, that we dream about having someday, and the power that is available to us right now. And I think that's one of the things that we need to get a grasp on. You know, God's power is available to us right now as we dream dreams. But you know, as we talk about our dreams, God also dreams in the whole process. So what is God's dream? 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 14. I urge then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings, for those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. This is good and pleasing God our Savior, who, what? Wants all people to be saved and to come to a knowledge of the truth. Did you know that's God's dream? God dreams that, his desire. That's why he sent Jesus. That's why he's working in our life. Because God doesn't want anybody to be lost. Now, we know that people are going to be lost. But that's not God's dream. Now, a lot of us have been around a while. How many of you were in L.A.? Probably at least half of you were in L.A. You remember one dream that actually came true for us, actually for the whole kingdom. And that was the Evangelization Proclamation issued in 1994. That dream was that we would be able to plant and establish churches in every country in the world that had a city of at least 250,000 people. 6 years later, that dream came true. And how many of you were there in that celebration? I think, was it the Shrine Auditorium that we had? That we're celebrating in the year 2000, that victory. Because it was a dream that we laid before God, God honored it, and it came true for us. The question is, are we dreaming dreams like that today? Are you dreaming personal dreams like that? You know, what keeps us from having dreams today? Number one, I think fear of failure. We're afraid if I have a dream and really believe it's going to come true, and it doesn't come true, we don't want to fail. It's a disappointment. It can hurt our faith so much. And I think in the process, what we're saying is we don't have faith in God's power. I think we've got to get back to being dreamers, to where we believe in God's power to make our dreams become reality. I think another reason that we don't dream is past negative experiences. I mean, all of us have got disappointments in our life, don't we? That's just life. But there's some things that damage our faith. For instance, some of you had marriages in the kingdom that ended up in divorce. That can really hurt your power to dream. All of us had dreams of having kids that would become disciples. Not all of our kids made a decision to become disciples. And that can hurt our dreams. And so, negative past experiences can really hurt our power and our faith to dream. Thirdly, basically, our life is pretty comfortable, isn't it? You may say, well, you know, inflation hurts and what. Have any of us missed meals lately because we didn't have enough money for a meal? Probably nobody has missed a housing payment or a car payment or a whatever. Most of us have jobs. Most of us are pretty comfortable. But you know what? Being comfortable is dangerous. The people that do best in their faith, in my experience around the world, are the people that have the toughest times. the ones who are going through the hardest things, because they realize it's out of their control. Only God can provide a solution. So sometimes we let ourselves get too comfortable. Now, I'm not saying go declare bankruptcy. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, don't go looking for trouble. Trouble will find you enough. But I think that we got to be careful that we just don't get comfortable in our discipling and our being disciples of Jesus. I think number 4, I don't think we got a whole lot of examples of people dreaming big dreams today. I mean, things like we experience, like the evangelization proclamation, those build faith in a lot of people. The idea that we can win the world in one generation, those are inspiring things. But do we have those dreams anymore? I know one of the things that I did in LA is I was the one that started K&N. K&N helped build a lot of dreams. And the reason that it did, because it showed people what was going on around the world that basically were miracles. Because let's face it, in the past 40 years, God has done a lot of miracles in the church. But we can become oblivious to those things because we don't see them necessarily around us. Number 5, I think basically we can just get numb in our Christianity. We can just take our Christianity, we just go through the motions. Yeah, maybe we have our quiet times. We come to church, we whatever. But in some sense, we can just get numb. Another word for numb is bored. We can get bored with our Christianity. We can get bored with coming to church on Sundays. We can get bored with our quiet times. My word, in 40 years, I've read through the Bible in 40 times. You know what? It's harder to find things that I'm excited about in reading through the Bible now. But they're there. You dig and they're there. We got to fight numbness and boredom. Number 6 is you can just get hopeless. My life is not going to change. I don't feel anything. I'm numb. I don't have real encouragement in my life. And then finally, burnout. We all know people that just ran 1,000,000 miles an hour as disciples and burned out. Because a lot of times they were running on their own strength. They got disappointed. They got bad things happen to them. They got abused. They got accused, whatever. And so some people have just burned out and just given up. You know, all of us have had unfulfilled dreams. I have some wild unfulfilled dreams in my life. You laugh at me for some of these things, but I could laugh at you on some of your things too. I took in college, I took architecture. And so in that, I got this big dream of building my own house. And I even designed it. I was going to build a house. And we moved to Boston. It changed from building a house to building a ski chalet. Because in going to Boston, if you're going to be there for the winters, you better learn to ski. And so our whole family loved skiing. And so we actually went and bought land in New Hampshire to build a ski chalet. I was going to build it on weekends. Dumb idea. We sold the land at a loss. In college, I played football, or I played at football. And being in Texas back then, guess who was the big team? Dallas Cowboys. All right. So my goal playing ball was, I want to be tight end for the Cowboys. As close as I got, was my teammate who was also tight end, played 6 years for Houston. That was as close as I got to pro ball. Physics, I loved physics. And I got into physics because my research was in something that's very popular today, and that's thermonuclear fusion. It's the idea now, and trillions of dollars have been spent on this, because if and when this happens, energy becomes totally cheap. And so I thought, doing research on this and doing my dissertation on this, I was going to win the Nobel Prize. Guess what? I didn't do that. So I've had significant unfulfilled dreams in my life. But you know what? I've had dreams that count a whole lot more than that fulfilled. Marrying the love of my life, Gloria, for 56 years. 3 incredible daughters who are strong disciples, all married to strong disciples. 9 grandkids. And you know what? If you don't have grandkids yet, life begins with grandkids. It is so nice to go and spoil the grandkids and leave. But we've gotten to see miracles all over the world. Gotten to see God work miracles all over the world. And as I talk to you about rebuilding dreams, I'm going to tell you that's my goal here with you. I got 12 weeks to try to help you build dreams. That's what I do best. I'm a dreamer. You can tell I've had crazy dreams, and I'll help you dream your own dreams. I won't dream dreams for you. You can build your own. But, someone has said this, a person is not old until regrets take the place of their dreams. Every single one of us have regrets. There are things that we look back on that we would have done differently, that we wish had happened differently. I wish Gloria was still here. That's a major regret right now. Can't wait to be with her. But I haven't stopped dreaming. Regrets are only bad when you don't dream anymore. When you stop and you focus on the things that went wrong in your life and you don't have dreams for things to go in the future. I want to tell you a story, true story, about a guy named Glenn Cunningham. He saw his world crashing down when he was 8 years old. He and his brother, and this obviously goes back a ways, you can tell, he and his brother were in charge of heating the classroom before school. Someone accidentally poured gasoline in the kerosene container. And so when the 2 brothers went to heat the coal stove, it exploded. It killed his brother, and doctors wanted to amputate both of his legs. His parents refused the amputation, but the doctor said that he'll never walk again. But he never stopped believing that he'd walk. Both of his knees and his shins and his toes, he lost all the skin on those. His parents used ointments and massages to help him recover. After a while, he was able to stand by holding on to either the bed or the table or the whatever. But still, one of the neighborhood kids said, you're never going to walk again. But a year later, he walked again. And by then, he started dreaming. He said, why stop with walking? What about running? He started running his first year in high school. By the end of the first year, he was faster than all the seniors who were runners on his team. By his senior year, He set the state record for the mile. He went to the Olympics. He ran the fastest mile that had ever been run in the history of mankind, 4 minutes and 7 seconds. That record stood for 20 years until someone broke the 4-minute mile. Why did that happen? It happened because he had a dream. Now, in one sense, that's a worldly dream, but it shows the power of dreaming, and I think God was behind that dream. I think God honors our dreams. And I think we need to stop being afraid of dreaming again. What do you believe is God's dream for your life? My goal is to be able to get with all I think, are 50 members. In these next 12 weeks, I want to get with all of you individually or as a couple. And basically, that's one of the questions that I want to ask you. So get ready for it. What do you believe is God's dream for your life? And secondly, how can I help you turn that dream into a reality? Bottom line, I want it to be Bakersfield dreaming, not California dreaming. I want to get every one of us dreaming again. So my goal right now is, in general, I want to come up on Saturday mornings and go home on Sunday nights. And so I want to spend time with you and setting up appointments with you. And Blaine and Eve will help me do that. But I want to get to know you. I want to get to know your history, your story, your dream. But I want to help you start dreaming again. And I know it works because I've seen it work all over the world. And I know that's what God works. So, God bless us. I love being with you. I look forward to the time together with you. Amen.